Good morning and welcome to another webinar, deep dive number 8 for 2025. We have an absolutely massive, monstrous amount of stuff to go through today. So I hope you're all very excited. I hope you're having a fantastic month and everything is going well. A couple of monster releases in the last few weeks, price matrices, sourcing from stock in transit, and many, many more. We had a bit of a hiatus from a couple of the webinars while we were over in Melbourne for the design show. For those of you who were able to join us, thank you so much for coming and checking it all out. And for everyone else, I hope you had an opportunity to see some of the videos that came from that. So we've missed a couple of weeks there, but we're back into the rhythm now. Very excited. And today is certainly going to be absolutely monstrous, as I know this is something that a lot of people have been looking for a very long time from an inventory management system, and we've been able to deliver. So let's dive in. So action packed. I'll try and get through as much of this as I can today. Obviously, plenty going on with a lot of the releases. I hope you're following the release notes. But the big ones that we really want to deep dive and cover today, the new price matrices handling. This is an absolutely phenomenal tool to really help you affect your quote pricing, staged ordering pricing for items that come in at different prices based on sets, such as the more you buy, the less you pay, and so many, many other really fantastic uses. The best part about the price matrix breakdown is in and itself is a phenomenal tool for the cabinet making and joinery industry. However, it has so many use cases outside of our industry as well, such as boat building and so many more. So really excited to deep dive into that. As well as that, we've had some humongous changes to the inventory management system over the last few weeks that have really been designed to massively improve the automation of the software to give you the greatest benefit there. The two big, big releases are now the ability to source from stock in transit, which is absolutely huge. So I know that for most people, they have the inventory management set up in Jobman so that it's fairly automated. You can come in, add the resource materials to your jobs, add them to batch ordering. We have intelligent smarts built in around minimum stock points and reorder points as well. The ability then to ensure double checks so that we're not re-adding stock materials to future purchase orders because they're in transit, and so on and so forth. And the big one is now, while you're waiting for that delivery, you can continue to source from that delivery and allocate those materials to your jobs before they've even arrived, which is just huge. I'm so excited about this one. As well as that, we brought in a couple of quality of life improvements around the handling. And one of the interesting ways in which the auto sourcing works in Jobman is it goes through and it runs a check in an order, which I'll cover today. What we've been able to do is we've been able to automate that full check process. So now it will run through that order, find everything, move to the next line, add another line where required, and keep stepping you through the process in one click. I mean, it wasn't that difficult before. It was a couple of clicks to achieve the same thing. But anytime we can save you clicks in your day, we're just putting more time back in your pocket to be more productive. So really exciting there. A couple of smaller ones, but also very important and great feature requests from our client base. Email printing and quality of life improvements around the way in which the order is set. It's a big one now. Everything is set in the order you would expect from top down, so you don't have to scroll through the pages. And also, a lot of clients did ask for the ability to be able to print their correspondence. There are times when you're going to want to physically print out your correspondence for certain reasons, and we've certainly provided a benefit there now, as well as job labels for office users with selectable templates. So the label printing has been one of our most well-received features. It was not a massive addition to the software, but I tell you what, it's certainly been a big benefit to a lot of companies. The ability to go in via the kiosk, hook one of your kiosks up to a label printer, and then as shipments come in the back door, quickly apply multiple job labels. So no one's walking around the warehouse looking for stock anymore, which is absolutely phenomenal. One of the requests we got was, can that now be managed from the job management team or the office users upstairs? So they're the ones creating the orders. Makes sense that we can then easily connect a label printer to an office computer and then pre-print those stickers so that when the stock arrives, an improvement in process, which we love. We're always about improvement of process. Have those downstairs ready to go. Stock comes in, the team can digitally receive it, on their kiosk and then whack those stickers on, and it's all a nice seamless process. So we've brought that in, as well as the ability for you to create selectable templates. So very handy there for making some alternative label styles. Job cards is a big example of something that a lot of people still like to print to this day, even with a digital platform. They like the idea of having a physical something go along the chain with the job so that the team has a little bit more information in their hands as well, which is fully understandable. So you can achieve that now. We have also, on top of all that, released two phenomenal improvement features to some of the best areas of our software. We have now delineated job purchase orders, and I'll go into a bit of detail around that, but it's really exciting for a number of reasons, and it will really help some companies delineate their process a little bit better so they can take full advantage now of both the batch ordering in our system as well as specific custom orders as well for jobs, and how that can then interact with the purchase orders, stock in transit, inventory, and of course, then most importantly, how it directly relates to your job costing, which has all had big improvements. So really exciting there. And the last one is probably the feature that has taken the longest for us to produce in for this release, but certainly very exciting. In your progress charts now, we have created the ability to multi-select the filters from the drop-down. So in a lot of areas of Jobman, you have the side filters. They might be statuses or categories, for example. And then you have the drop-down features. Our categories to the left have always been multi-select. However, our top filters have not always been multi-select. And what the team has been able to develop is an absolutely beautiful new UI that involves both the multi-select feature, a static search within that feature to really help if you have a number of things coming down from those columns, and then have the information editable and searchable within those constraints. So basically, all that is a really fancy way of saying we have massively improved the handling now in the software for where we can deal with multi-select. And the reason why this is so exciting is, aside from the fact that progress charts are one of people's favorite tools in the software for visibility around where their jobs and leads are up to, now that this has been released, we will be able to put it into other areas of the software. And I'm sure already, just watching this, you are thinking of many great places where we can take advantage of this. So we will be rolling that out in time to come. So really exciting. The first thing was to get in the software to massively improve the UI experience. And now we can roll it out to other areas. So let's dive in. Okay, so the first one, very exciting, full auto sourcing. This is an interesting development. Previously, the software was extremely intelligent in the way in which you could utilize the sourcing to be able to step in. And if you have a list of materials, such as I do here, based on those items, be able to hit source, and then it will run off and find those materials for you in inventory, which is obviously a massive benefit to mitigating waste and improving your flow process. The slight downside to that particular feature was each time it ran a check. So the first check is obviously if it in inventory. If you needed 20 items, for example, and you only had 2 in stock, it's going to delineate the material into 2 halves because you need accountability for where those materials are coming from. So it would take the 2, assign them to inventory, and then it would put the 18 remaining for the next sourcing feature. Nice and easy. Hit source again, and Jobman would run the next checks, and usually it would then go off to batch purchase ordering. However, a few clients commented it would be great if we could just run that check constantly for you rather than you have to hit the button. So now when you hit source, excuse me, Jobman will do a full tailored check. It will start pulling by inventory and then separate whatever else it can't find in inventory. The new check now is, okay, it's not in inventory. Is it in stock in transit? As in, have we ordered already but not yet received? It will find that and pull those available. And if anything is left over and still can't be sourced from transit or brought from inventory, then adds it to your purchase order, ready for the next order. So really fantastic. Again, we probably saved you all of about 2 clicks, but it's worth it, just to make your purchase orders and that procurement process even easier. So that's nice and easy. I hope you've had a bit of a chance to play with that already. But I think on the back of what we've released, you will see the huge benefit of that down the chain now for full automation. The second one was just a nice little quality of life feature improvement. You can now print emails and correspondence from our system. It will bring up in a browser page so you can PDF to print, choose your printer and come down as you would expect. Very clean, very nice, very easy to use. For companies that still like that paper-based handling for certain things, it does make a lot of sense. And let's be honest, correspondence via email these days is as good as a letter. So it has legal benefits and ramifications whereby you can use it. So being able to print that and take it to places does make a lot of sense. Obviously, we hope one of the primary benefits of the software is everything's digital, so you can just pull out your phone or your tablet or computer and bring up that information live anyway. But now, for those clients who really do need that process, it's now available in the software. We've also improved the sort order. So it's a very tricky question. It sounds very easy for most people. Which way should your emails go? Top to bottom or bottom to top, as in latest down or furthest away forward? And most systems, there is not really a good answer for it. We've always run with the mentality that you want to sort of track down the chain so you can see the chain and then come to the bottom of the email. But we had a lot of feedback saying, hey, look, we're involved in the email process. We're usually pretty across it. It's way better just to have it at the top, ready to go, so I can hit reply. And then if I need to track down, I can. So we've made that flip. So far, been very well received. We were expecting a few people to come back to us, but everyone so far has come back and said, no, that's exactly what we wanted. So happy days. Job labels for office users, as I mentioned, really powerful, really useful for such a small, incredible feature for a lot of companies. I cannot tell you the number of times I've been into a business and been chatting to a business owner down on the factory floor, for example, looking around the warehouse, and there's someone just running around aimlessly for about 20 minutes. And I always ask the question, what is that person doing? And it's almost always the same answer. It's like, oh, they're looking for this stock that has to go out with that dispatch today for either dispatch or for installation. And they're just, they're looking through 200 boxes that look the same and they can't find the order. So great feature, well received. Like I said, you can link up a kiosk to a label printer and then print those out as the stock comes down on the back end from your receival. Quickly print out as many job labels as you need, whack them on, off you go. The secondary improvement there was though, as I said, office users would like that ability to be able to utilize it, step into the software and really improve that process. So you can now do that as an office user as well. We've also now allowed you to choose your templating. Now, I forgot to mention it, but this has actually been released in two places. No, I think 99% of templates in Jobman are selectable, like your quote templates, invoice templates, purchase order templates, email templates, so on and so forth. So when producing an email or a quote, you can choose from your list of templates, which allows you a lot of customization. Two areas where that wasn't available was in the label printing, because to begin with, it didn't make sense. We're like, surely you just have one type of label that you're printing, and also item specifications. We've actually been able to update that technology on the basis of a lot of feedback and said, okay, we'll allow you to choose your template at that moment in that dialogue. Very handy for item specs. There's a lot of people produce item specifications to be both internal and external. So they'd like a way to produce an external item specification they send to clients, architects or anyone involved in the process, and a different one for the way the team reads it. Doesn't need to be as pretty, just needs to be more informative. Similar thing with the job labels. A few clients did ask or did say, is there a possibility that we can choose a slightly different variant and be able to send that off to a different printer rather than a label printer, and maybe produce a job card using the template variables, because the job information is all there within that template. So we said, absolutely, why not? Let's do it. So now you can create a couple of templates, one for your label, one for maybe a job card. And at the time of printing, your office users can select which one they want to go, and then obviously which printer they're going to go to. So nice feature benefit. Hopefully that brings improvement to your business. This is the big one though, and I've summarized it into one sheet, which is very hard to do. But one of the biggest, I guess, difficult things for inventory management systems to handle, especially when they're as automated as Jobman and when they bring so much benefit like we do, is how do you solve the edge case solution problems? And we're very fortunate in Australia and New Zealand, and most of our clients who sit in Europe, America, Canada, that we have incredible access to supply. That is to say, for most industries we work with, you can almost do time on ordering. So you place the order today, and you can almost guarantee it'll be there tomorrow. Fantastic. So it really has solved the transit problem for most companies. However, that is not a universal case. And there are some good real world examples of where that doesn't work. For example, if you are in a remote area, Northern Queensland, Tasmania, for example, Alice Springs, there is quite a period of time where it's coming from your nearest dispatch center to be able to come out to you. And that can be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I've heard of many Canadian clients saying the same thing as well, where there is quite a delay depending on where the stock comes from. The secondary consideration there as well is not always will your entire formatted stock delivery, even though it is time on order, be able to arrive in one hit. So quite often you have large shipments and the warehouse may be able to dispatch 50% of it, for example, but the other 50% has to come from another warehouse. So there is a delay in getting that secondary part of your order down to that warehouse and then dispatched to you. So the difficult problem to solve there is if we have stock in transit, we sort of want to be able to allocate it. We don't want to wait for it to arrive into our inventory or our warehouse and then allocate it at that moment. We want to be able to keep the flow rolling to continue to add jobs, look for resource materials, source those purchase orders, and then be able to step in and, of course, take advantage of that phenomenal piece of information that's sitting there that the stock has not yet arrived. So we have produced an absolutely beautiful way of handling that now, in that your stock or your items, when ordered, now fall into two very specific categories. They are either assigned to a job, so they have an assignee, which you can see, or they are unassigned. And we can now utilize that tagging and say, well, if they're unassigned and not yet received, they're technically in transit, therefore we can source from them. So two massive upgrades to the system there. Number one, when you go to source materials now and you click that auto source button, you will notice a new pop-up and there will be previously you had location, order after order by, source stock in inventory. Now you also have source stock in transit. We have intentionally made it manual. We want to give you the option. Is always a common question we get around software is, can't we just make things more and more and more and more automated? And we're like, absolutely. However, there are decisions that need to be made for your business that we don't necessarily always want the software to make those decisions on your behalf. And this is one of them. For example, and this is a great example, that's why I want to bring it up on the webinar. Quite often, clients, when they pick up larger projects, will do what's called project pricing with a supplier. So you might have a massive project coming up and it might be, say, 10 apartments. And just for that particular project, you've gone to your supplier and said, look, typically we order, 10 or 20 boards at a time from you. However, I'm going to need 200. And the supplier comes to the party and says, not a problem. We'll give you a discounted price because you're buying in bulk from us. And then we'll send that in your next order and we'll reflect and update the purchase order price so you know what's going on for that particular delivery. Now that delivery, whilst in transit, you want that stock to be available, you're going to bring it in. However, you're basically earmarking that directly for your project because you may have had to discount the project to win the large project. Therefore, getting a discount on the stock itself helps improve that profitability. That is an instance where you might not necessarily want to source from stock in transit. You don't want people just adding everyday small jobs and going, I need 2 boards, I need 3 boards, I need 2 boards, and pulling from that stock. You might not care. For most businesses, it works its way out in the wash. If they're taking the reduced price project management stock now and you're having to order some later, it actually doesn't work out in the wash. But certainly from a job cost point of view, you would want to be particular about the fact that stock is for that price. So that's a good example of why you may not want to hit the checkbox, and it's why we created the checkbox. We always think through the solution when we develop something to give you the maximum benefit of the solution without breaking your stuff, basically. So you can choose that. But the beauty of that now is you can see this absolutely phenomenal new sourcing summary, which I really love, that came in as part of this feature, so that you can now tell exactly what has happened when you've hit that button. So it will come through and it will say, hey, we went looking for these boards. If they are available in inventory, we pulled them from inventory. In this instance, I had 10 available, and then there were 10 coming in my next shipment of order for stock. So you can see on here that it's broken it down and said 10 now sourced from inventory and assigned to this job, and 10 we are waiting for. This is the purchase order. Absolutely fantastic. So full transparency, again, one click now. So you hit one click and it will run through that sourcing and it will do those checks. Check number 1, is it in inventory? Check number 2, is it in transit? Check number 3, okay, push it to pending items for purchase orders. And if you don't click source inventory and source transit, it will skip those two and just go straight to add to purchase order. So all the power is in your hands. However, now you can imagine how incredibly automated this is. So that particular item there is a carcass board I use for my quote pricing. I built it in a way where it has substitutes to my two major suppliers. I've set one as preferred. Literally now I can quote, bring in those items. It will tell me how many sheets I need. I hit one button. It goes and finds the accurate substitute for the material that I need to order, not the quote pricing option. It goes and finds it in inventory. If it can't find an inventory, it goes looking for my next order, adds it from transit, and whatever's left gets added to my batch purchase ordering. I can then go click on my batch purchase ordering and in one click, add that material and it will run a check or low stock quantities. Do I need to add more for my minimum reorder points? All seamless, all in a couple of clicks, all at your fingertips. I cannot explain how incredibly exciting this is. This is something that clients have been talking to us about for years. It's a massive problem solved for so many industries, and so many software companies cannot deliver on this because it is a very difficult problem to solve. And now you have it at your fingertips inside Jobman. So very exciting. If you have more questions around that, please, do come and ask us about that. It's a big area of software, and I think now there's a lot of opportunity for improvement. I will probably do an inventory deep dive in the near future as well. So have a nice flow recording of exactly what I just showed you, so you can see how easy it is to manage in your business. A little bit of setup, and then just full automation from there. The secondary part to that is typically in the software, we have always advised clients utilize what we call the batch ordering feature of the software. So add materials to your jobs and then hit source, let the software use its smarts, and then go into your purchase orders, hit a button, say, produce me the order for that supplier. Has two massive benefits. Number one, it's virtually automated. Number two, it's very fast. Number three, it mitigates a lot of mistakes. But number four, most importantly, it saves you on freight because you're combining your orders. Instead of placing single orders all the time every day for small batch orders to job to supplier, where you're copying freight on every single one of those deliveries, it's a massive saver. However, there are obviously many, many, many instances when you may order directly for a job, and it might be your preferred methodology for two reasons. The aforementioned reason, where it's a project managed pricing. Like I said, we're going to order 200 boards. I don't want those 200 boards going to stock. I need them assigned to this job so they can be utilized throughout this larger project. So that's one good example. The second and probably more common example is, of course, custom ordering. Things where you're not necessarily ordering from your catalog. It might be bench tops, stone, splashbacks, upholstery work for other industries, things that you move outside of your business, which is not a specific catalog item. It's a thing that you order, and based on the thing you order, your supplier presents you with a price just for that custom order. Now, the two benefits you want from the system is you want to be able to order those specifically tailored to the job. And the second benefit you're looking for as well is to make sure that that custom pricing, so that purchase order, when received, can then apply to the job costing. We've now been able to solve that problem with a really clear, efficient delineation between our purchase order types. So if you use the normal batch purchase ordering, not a problem. You don't need to worry about this feature at all. Just have in the back of your mind that is now available. However, if you are inside a job and you click New Purchase Order, it will now create a new special type of purchase order called a job purchase order. And you'll see the delineation here with the amber and sienna tagging so that you know exactly what the number is for, what job it's for. The secondary way of achieving that, of course, is you can go in, create a purchase order and select the job now, and that will delineate that purchase order just for that job. Now, there's three primary benefits and there's two caveats. So I'll give you the three benefits first. Benefit number one, every material you now add to that purchase order, whether it be from your pending list, as in items that you've sourced and they're waiting to be ordered and you want them just for this. So pending items for this job can be quickly and easily added just for that job. Any extraneous materials you add will automatically be assigned to this job. So that means in the instance of the trade pricing, if I want to add 200 boards, I'm adding 200 boards, and when they come in, they will be assigned to this job, not to stock, to this job. So very useful. Third benefit is that any items on this purchase order that come in that were not in the original material list will be added to the job resource materials. So that was a big consideration. Clients have been asking us for a while, how do I do that? I don't necessarily always want to add the items in to into the job materials first and then run the sourcing process. Often we're just doing custom things on the fly, or there's variations happening, or the world of manufacturing is quite dynamic. So how do we step in, and we want to just create them quickly into the purchase order, get them off, because we might not yet know the price, and that's a very good reason why custom ordering, you generally don't know the price until you've placed the order and they've returned. How do I do that? But I also want that information then to fill into the job so that they're sitting there, and I can then take advantage of the job cost improvement by knowing that that particular item, that exact price, has now come against my costing. So that this now solves that problem. And we people originally asked, can we just make the purchase orders do it? We said no. We want to specifically separate the solution so that it's super clear. We've got to make it super clear because of these two caveats. Caveat number one: if you create a job purchase order and you add stock to it, it will be assigned to that job. So it cannot come into the unassigned status. You can sort of get yourself out of that, but you might create quite a messy sort of component. So if your aim is to buy stock or use the minimum stock points, so on and so forth, use the purchase order, use the current flow, which works beautifully and is optimally built for your business. However, if you're doing project pricing or custom pricing, definitely assign the material, and when it's received, it will be assigned to that job. So it's caveat number one: is you will not be able to use job purchase ordering to bring in stock, because that's not what it's there for. It's there for that job, which makes a lot of sense, and that's what everyone wants. So we've produced it, but just keep that in the back of your mind that yeah, if you go delineate the job at the top of the purchase order, it'll immediately change it to a job purchase order. So that's caveat number one. Caveat number two is it's super important to note that whilst we will modify the job cost reporting based on that purchase order price, so it's live, what we won't do is we won't update the catalog. And as a very common question we get is, oh, if a pricing change, it'd be nice just to have the purchase order change the catalog. Unfortunately, in the world we live in, that is not a good solution. As I said, you have project pricing, you have delineated bump pricing. So if you order one of this thing, it's $10. If you order, 20 of this thing, it's $9, and so on and so forth. If every single time those materials were accepted and brought into your purchase orders and it changed your catalog, we would be breaking the foundation of your original basically costings, and you might not be aware of it. And that's even worse. That's not something we ever want to do for our clients. So it's important to know that the caveat here is, yep, absolutely, we'll update the job costing and make sure it's more accurate based on the price of receival. So you're getting really good numbers now. However, it will not affect your catalog intentionally. So if you want to go in and make catalog changes because the pricing has changed, absolutely, we recommend it as a process. So going forward, you're good to go, but we're not going to automate that process for you because it will break things foundationally. So really exciting, absolutely phenomenal release. And hopefully that will certainly help you with a lot of your features moving forward in your process and make things a bit easier for your team to manage in a realistic sense. We know ordering two jobs is very common for a lot of businesses, not just in the custom space, but the project space. And also some businesses just work that way. They order in for the job, receive everything, run the job, order in for the job, receive everything, and they factor the freight into their overhead and wastage. So now you have the best of both worlds. Multi-select in progress charts. Phenomenal. Really exciting. The multi-select feature you'll notice now is really clean. It's really nice. I hope you've had a chance to play with it already since the release. This has been a big UI development, required a lot of work to build on top of our framework, and we're really excited to be able to bring this in. Couple of things that you'll notice around this that are really good is you now have a filtration search bar, so you can tell how many filters you're basing the information on. Secondary, we have a static search built in, so now it's nice and clean and easy to run through. If I have a list, for example, of staff members and I had 30 staff members linked to that member type, it's now easy to find them very quickly. The multi-select is also conditional, so it means as I'm adding conditions, the information is filtering. And lastly, the search now will respect those filters. So an absolutely massive development, probably doesn't look like it, but once you start using it, you realize why. And then now that we have developed that, we'll be able to roll this out into other key areas of the software where people certainly want that multi-select capability. Primarily, what we've found is it's not relational to the information, because you can always filter the information in the software. It's more about refining the search. So some key areas, for example, would be the catalog. You want to be able to set the category and the supplier, or a couple of suppliers, and then potentially a couple of brands, and then delineate your search from there with the filtration, knowing that it will respect all those filters. And we've been able to achieve that now with the progress charts, and really excited and looking forward in the future to be able to bring that out in other areas. So give it a good hammering and let us know how you feel. We certainly think it's going to be massive improvement. I certainly love the progress charts. It's one of the great visual tools in the software around leads and job management. Quick, fast information. Where are things up to? And being able to delineate that now in a couple of clicks is huge. The last one, I know we're into it today, which was actually meant to be the mainstay of this particular webinar. But as it turns out, so much phenomenal stuff has come out. I've wanted to get in and share as much information as I could. Is price matrices. Now, price matrices are not necessarily one of those features that every company looks at immediately and gets very excited about. It's one of those things that if you know what it is and you use it, oh, game changer. But what I've found is when I've talked to people about it since its release, they've gone, oh, actually, I have a use case for that. And you very quickly get a feel for just how incredibly powerful this new feature is. So there's been two massive updates to the catalog on the back of this. Number one is you'll notice now that in your catalog materials, where it goes, where the question is asked as to the pricing structure, there's a new drop down. And the drop down now will be unit pricing, or price matrices. The advantage being is you can now delineate which way you want that material to handle its pricing. So what, in essence, is a price matrix? Short and curlies is if you buy a material that's each, or a pack, or a linear meter, or a square meter rate, those would be called unit pricing. So that is, say, for example, I have a board. It's 2400 by 1200 by 16 mils. That's 2.8 square meters per board. I have a price. It's $20 a square meter, which is X a sheet. I use the smart to the system that every time I add products, they add up the total optimization of that square meter, apply the number of boards, there's the pricing, and that's what we then go order. And the pricing is based on that square meter or on that sheet. Or if I buy, a pack of 1,000 or 5,000 screws, the unit ID price is one. It's one pack. The number of quantity is 5,000, and the cost of that pack is, say, $50. Therefore, they're 0.05 cents each for a screw. That's unit pricing, and that's how the system has always worked. And you've certainly probably gained a lot of benefit from those in the ability to make your purchase sorting really easy. There is a secondary type of pricing that suppliers provide, though, that is based around what's called a two-dimensional axis rather than unit pricing. And that's a price matrix. So the best example I can give you is laminate doors. So for those of you in the joinery and cabinet making space or millworking space, you'd be across this concept. It's been around for a very long time. Rather than buying two-pack shaker doors, you can go to a number of suppliers, or some people do it internally in-house, and have them thermal wrapped. And the advantage being is it's significantly cheaper for the client, produces a beautiful finish, and allows them to get a really nice high finished kitchen on their doors without spending as much as they would on high gloss two-pack painted. The way the suppliers price those is in matrix style segments. So that is to say, if the door is up to 900 long by 800 wide, it'll cost you $157. So if the custom door you're ordering is, say it's 850 by 750, that is the price. So having that matrix ability then to say we want to be able to set the pricing based on those matrices is very, very, very powerful, because it gives you those stopping points rather than saying work out the exact square meter rate based on the fact that it's an 850 door by 750. It's like, so long as it falls between those two features, that's the price. Now, already I know that you're sitting there and you're going, oh yeah, wrap doors, we do a few of those. But you start to think of all the other hundreds of possibilities where this feature is so powerful. And I have some really good use case examples that have come out since it's been released in the software. Boat building. Absolutely massive. When you buy things like fiberglass, again, the amount of fiberglass is based on the mass of the fiberglass you're buying. It's like a weight consideration, essentially. But it's done in levels. You don't just buy like 20 kilos of the stuff. It's like, well, we need for this boat, we're going to need to wrap up X number of meters, which equates to this amount of mass by this amount of length. Therefore, that's the amount we need to order, and that's how they price. Stone, very similar. Most stone companies price in a similar way. They're like, if the bench top is Galaxy finish with 40 mil premium rounded edge and waterfall downs up to 2 meters, it's this price, 2 to 2.5, it's this price, and so on and so forth. Huge, absolutely huge. So many use cases. And now you can build those price matrices and link them directly in to a material handling in your software so you can choose the way in which your materials, whether they be style items for quotes or even just material handling directly into quotes, the way in which they price. My favorite use case for this, outside of obviously the thermal wrap consideration, which is a massive solve for the cabinet making and joinery and millworking industry, is price delineations. And this has always been a tricky one for companies to work out how best to handle their catalog. I'll give you a fantastic example. Companies such as Wilson and Bradley produce what they call commonality stock items. And we'll just use a hinge as an example because everyone knows what a hinge is and they've seen one no matter the industry you're in, whether it be doors, through to cabinet making, through to steelwork. You know what a hinge is. And the way they work is if you buy one hinge, it's $15. If you buy 2 to 10 hinges at a time, it's $14. If you buy 11 to 20 hinges, it's $13, and so on and so forth. Now, the tricky part when setting up your catalog, obviously, is you need to set one price for the SKU because each of those products is the same thing. It's the same SKU. So how then do we map that pricing to make sense? And generally, the way most companies handle it is they use the 90% rule. If 90% of the time we buy a 20 plus, because we're always going to use this thing, it's always in, we like to keep it in stock, and it gives us the best price, you would set the unit price on the hinge to be $20 because it makes sense. That's where you're going to order it most of the time. If occasionally you just have to order a couple for a job and you take this thing and it goes up to 15 bucks, such as life. You take the hit, it's all right. Your catalog's covered you 90% of the time. You see the purchase order amount reflected in the job cost. It's okay. Utilizing price matrices, you can now have a quantity versus unit order price matrix where the price goes up based on those units, and you could link that to that material. So you could have those price stages built in. What's even better is when you go to order that, Jobman is smart enough then to wrap up the order. So if, for example, we'll use that hinge as an example, your base price is $15 and the best price you can get is 20 items ordered and it goes down to $12. I add 2 hinges to job one, 5 hinges to job two, 7 hinges to job three, 4 hinges to job five. When that gets added to the purchase order, Jobman now can look at that and say, well, this plus this plus this plus this actually is 21. Therefore, we can give you the best unit price because we're wrapping it up and you're ordering 21. Therefore, you may have costed at 15, which makes sense. You'll cost to protect your business at the worst case scenario. When you're ordering, we can deliver that profitability gain based on the best price because you're ordering it in bulk. Amazing. Secondary super incredible feature about the price matrices is this great new adjust percentage button. So typically speaking, with most unit pricing in your catalog, if you get a supplier increase, for example, you export the CSV. Just with that supplier, you go to unit pricing column, times it by, let's say that's 3%, 3%. Override the column, suck it back in. And just like that with Jobman, you have now updated your pricing. Absolutely phenomenal. Huge benefit for a lot of companies keeping their price books and matrices up to date. The issue is because matrices can be quite complicated. You can see this one I have here as a real case example of a vinyl cap matte finish thermal wrap door. That's a lot of fields to go through and have to update each time you get a pricing update. So we have developed a fantastic ability now to adjust the percentages at a click. And you can go in and simply adjust the percentage of this price matrix. You can push it up 3%, for example, and it will automatically rework the numbers for you in your system. You can even price down, which is absolutely huge. So you could say, hey, we found a new supplier. We're able to get a slightly better price on these vinyl wrap doors or our fiberglass, etc. And I can simply adjust the price down by that percentage and off we go. Currently, it doesn't support lineal amount, so I can't say add $5, subtract $5. It's percentage only, but that's simply to keep in line with best industry practices. 90% of suppliers don't come to you and say, I'm upping that thing by 3 cents. They say, we're upping your catalog by 2.5% in line with world pricing. So really phenomenal, really exciting, lots of use cases. There's some great videos that have been released in the documentation around this. So if this is a feature that you absolutely think you can take advantage of, have a check out the documentation. Or if you'd like some additional training to step in and take advantage of some of these features, highly recommend it. We've got some great one-on-one training options available in the company. We can buy hour by hour, or for those of you who have used an external implementation partner, or have someone else who have helped you build through your software, it's a good opportunity to go back and revisit and maybe book in a session with them and say, hey, there's an opportunity here for us to take advantage of some of these new features, especially the stock in transit, job purchase order, auto minimum stock point flow now being so beautiful. Making sure the foundation of that is set up in your software, absolutely worth the time and money spent because it will pay it back in spades. So never forget that those opportunities always exist to take advantage. I do my best to provide as much free education and free information about these releases so you can take advantage of them. But if you want to know more, and this is certainly a big part of your business, and getting it set up right makes sense, then absolutely get in touch with an expert and get some benefit from it, which is cool. Now, I had hoped to get a bit of time to sort of jump in and show you a few of these things, but there was just so much to cover. I don't think that'll be the case, but I think it's all pretty straightforward. It's well documented on how to use these features. And most of it has been about benefiting you in processes you already have outside of price matrices. Very easy to set up, by the way. You basically add a price matrix. You can choose a couple of. Actually, you know what? Let's just very quickly. We can spend 2 minutes on this. Why not? I think it's good for people to see just quickly. Very easy to set up. So you don't. I know that looks really complicated what we've got going on there, but very straightforward. So in the settings catalog, you'll see a beautiful new option here called Price Matrices. Simply hit Create. Now, this is where you set the name of the price matrix. So let's say, for example, this is Thermo Wrap CAD 1. Number of axes options. Keep in mind, especially when it comes to things like thermal wrap doors, for example, depth is not important. That is to say that we're operating in the precept that the material depth itself is standardized. It's set by the supplier. So this is a 2 axes price. We're looking at 2 things. You'll notice there's lots of options here on how we can measure and modify those. So like I said, the sky is the limit with this feature. Also, setting up the unit of measurement from the outset, whether it be millimeters for our metric clients, or inches or feet for our imperial clients. Very useful because now I don't have to set those in the actual thing itself. The CSV will take care of that information. And you'll see this beautiful blank screen rock up. And you go, oh, what's going on here? Not a problem. We've done it intentionally. We want to make this really easy. Simply turn around and we can export our new price matrix. This is why we've made it so easy to set up from the outset. And if you have some of these built in other areas, you can, of course, go in and start building them yourself or import them via this process. And then I can simply fill out the information really quickly. You notice I don't have to put in the millimeters. It knows. And if you're comfortable with, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. My apologies. This is why you don't do things in a rush. If you're comfortable with the way that Excel actually works, you can come in, and once you give it a few data points, you can start to use it and it will branch back out and move from there. I probably should have given it more data points than that to work with, but that's okay. And then it's really this easy. So once I set this up, and I can do it down the other side, so it might go down to 199. Keep in mind what we're looking at here is the difference. So the system is looking for the top number minus the left number. I won't put in too many data points here. I just want to give everyone a bit of an idea of how to use this. The idea here is that we're setting that on that range. So if it's between 101 and 199, look to this cell. I hope that makes sense. Just so everyone's very aware that it's always up to the highest number. So if this was 100, it's 0 to 99. And then at 100, it moves to that pricing, just so you're really clear. And then let's do something a bit weird here and just make it really simple. So obviously very fake prices. And then follow that through. It didn't work. Why? Excel, I tell you, it's the worst. I use numbers. I'm a Mac user. Way smarter system, ready to go. Um, and then basically we can follow that precept across as it does, so on and so forth. So it'll take you a couple of minutes to set that up, but not a huge problem because, like I said, the beauty of this is once you've done it, it's ready to go. It's nice and easy. It's set, and you only have to do it once because going forward, you can absolutely come in. Could have downloaded that sample CSV as well. That would have done the same thing. Just so you know, it would have pulled out the CSV based on the information I provided it. And then we can simply drop in that matrix, import it in, and bang, there we go. It knew the measurements. Oh, that was actually the wrong matrix, but hey, there's probably a better one. I've set it up a little bit better. And that was it, that easy. All ready to go, all set. The unit pricing one, like I said, if you've got defaulted unit pricing, simply choose units and quantity. Absolutely fantastic. And then my favorite feature of this is anytime we have a price increase, bang, done, phenomenal. Or it goes down as well. Um, I would love to see that happen in the catalog as well. I think that'll be my future push. Or help me get on the back of that one because I think that'd be huge. If you see this, reach out and say, hey, it'd be really cool if we could do that feature for suppliers where you could just go into your catalog, hit that button, update to all the unit pricing of suppliers. Big stuff though, really phenomenal. I think this is huge. And then how do we then use the price matrices? As I said, not a problem. We can come in here. I might just go to my quote pricing options here and say, okay, I've got a finish here, which actually involves the thermal wrap doors. So I can come in and now you'll see this beautiful new option here. Instead of unit pricing, simply change it to price matrix. Choose the matrix. Relevant. I might just update the name. Thermal wrap. CAD 1. Beautiful. Done deal. And just like that, you'll notice now that you have pricing ranges built in. So you can see the Galliard's range between the two endpoints and everything in between. I can now apply this as a style in my quotes. And in one click, I can come in and say if the doors are thermal wrap or vinyl wrap, this is the price. It will look at the size of the doors based on the product and immediately produce the pricing ready to go all in one click. All very easy to use, all actually very easy to set up. It surprised me how phenomenal and easy that was actually to set up. And I'm not the most technical human being on the planet, so they showed me how easy it was to export out, set those numbers, put some pricing in, suck it back in, and you're off and running. Absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much for bearing with me. I know this is a big one, but there was a lot to cover. As always, everything we have gone through today has been a part and parcel in the documentation already. So you've probably seen it in the notes, but it's good, I know, for a lot of people to see the visual, get an understanding of what's been released, and get a bit more context about how they can use it for their business. So check out the documentation. The in-app help is always there. As I said, if you're looking for extra training in that, you can find that on the website or go to one of your third-party solution partners and maybe book in some time to run through some of these big features for you. Absolutely love it. If you'd subscribe to the YouTube as well, I do spend a lot of time making sure I'm providing as much content and education for free for people to be able to take advantage of the software at a maximum level. So, jump in there, subscribe. It's worth it. I'm always putting new content up. There's always more stuff coming from our company. It's good to stay on top of these great features and get the most out of your software. As always, thank you so very much for joining me. I really appreciate your time, taking the time out of the day to come check this out and hang out and find out the latest and greatest that's coming out from Jobman and how it can benefit your business.